think everyone should behave the same way. The diversity of personality of our colleagues is part of the special formula we have. But I do think that, as a member, you should feel the Co-op difference when you interact with any of our colleagues, regardless of where you are. So the big challenge your HR team have is to define which behaviours set us apart and make sure that we look in the right places for potential colleagues who share the right behaviours and values, and then develop and reward them to provide that consistent experience. And we need to do this across 7 different trading groups. Easy peasy. During this workshop, I'm going to be referring to a survey that we asked our membership panel to complete last week to see what you think about the results from that survey and which direction you think they should take us in. I am so excited to have the opportunity to pick your brains, and I really want as many of you to contribute as possible. If you are one of our amazing colleagues, I would like you to get involved in this discussion as a member rather than as a colleague. Think about the experience you want when you do business with us rather than the experience you want to provide as a colleague. As we have a relatively manageable number on the call today, the best way for you to contribute would be to raise your hand to ask a question or make a comment, and Ali will make sure that we get round to as many people as we can. Please remember to stay on mute until Rachel, Ali or I specifically invite you to speak so we can make sure everyone gets a chance to contribute. And if you'd feel more comfortable to leave a comment on the chat function, that's fine too. And if you are all keen to make lots of contributions, we may actually encourage you to use the chat function rather than putting up your hand. So let's see how we get on. So just to set the context about the spirit of our session today, everyone's view is really important, and you should absolutely feel free to say what you think. There are no right or wrong answers in this session today, and genuinely we want you to build on the ideas that you're hearing in the session. This truly is, believe it or not, because I haven't stopped speaking yet, but this really is a conversation, and we will really try and get some two-way conversation going, and we don't have an expected outcome out of this. So I will just say that, just to set your expectations, this is about what you should get as a member from your service from us. So think about what you want to experience from us on our best day. This isn't necessarily about the service that you might have had in the past. So onto the survey and really the focus of our conversation today. So we went out to our membership panel, and a total of 523 people responded to the survey. And we really, we use the Your Co-op Voice survey because that's a platform designed for our members and customers, and they're panelists with us, so they can answer the questions regarding any sort of research that we want to do. The respondents who made up our panel are also members. Anyone that wasn't a member hasn't been included in the results of this survey. The survey took about 5 minutes to complete, and the survey asked for quantitative and qualitative feedback. There are 13 questions featured in the survey. So the key part of the survey was asking our members to rank which service attributes were most important in our colleagues. And we separated that out by different trading groups because we know that different trading groups may have a different order of importance. So we looked at how important being friendly is, being friendly and welcoming to the society from our colleagues, how important being knowledgeable about the product or service, and we varied that that statement slightly depending on the trading group. So as an example, in childcare, we said being knowledgeable about early years education, for example, knowledge about the local community, knowledge about cooperation, being efficient. And again, we reworded that slightly for areas like funeral care, where we talked about making the process of arranging a funeral easy to understand, and providing a personalised service. And I'm going to pass on to Rachel now, who's got the results, and then we're going to ask for your views.
Thanks, Claire. So on the screen, you're about to see the average rankings for each of the trading groups, and we have separated out food convenience and food supermarkets as a point of interest within that as well. So Ali, if you could move on to the next slide. Oh, sorry, you on?
Yeah.
My screen's different, I apologise. Okay, so what I'm going to ask you to do is I'll just hold you in some silence for a minute or two while you have a look at those rankings. And what I'd be interested to hear from you, first of all, is some initial observations. What do you see, and how do you interpret those rankings and scores on the screen? And is there any surprises in there for you, or any differing opinions? And then we'll move into the interactive part where you can stick your hand up and start the conversation for us. So, like I say, a couple of moments to have a look at those rankings. Okay. Can we start the bidding then? Has anybody got any initial observations or thoughts on what they see from those rankings? Have any volunteers to get the conversation started?
Helen's got a question.
Thanks, Helen.
I feel very brave asking the first question. What I noticed was that quite a lot of the more functional things are quite high on the list, like being efficient and knowing about products. So I guess my thought is it's really important that those co-op values shine through, you know, even just the efficiency, getting stuff through the till type transactions, and that we don't kind of say, you know, because actually knowledge about cooperation is right at the bottom, isn't it? And it's you know, so we can't save our co-op difference for that part of it, if that made sense.
It does, yeah.
Absolutely. So the efficiency bit stands out for you, Helen. Thank you. Any other observations? I think Vivian, you were next.
Yes. I mean, it's interesting. I guess in a way I'm not surprised at these rankings, because without the knowledge about the product and the service, you can't really do the rest of the job. So it's a bit like saying, you know, is it more important to be able to hold the steering wheel or to be friendly to other drivers, you know? So the softer things tend to come further down. But I'm not sure that, and this is not a criticism of the idea of doing the survey, but in a way what it tells me is I'm not sure how useful it is to put them on the same, to put them in a ranking together, because they're kind of in a slightly different category. So yeah, in a way it's useful, but in a way it's perhaps you know, if you said, well, okay, we won't bother about the knowledge of cooperation or the knowledge of the community, you'd be drawing the wrong conclusion, I suppose is what I'm saying. I think we need to find other ways to start that conversation. I mean, the other thing is that maybe our customers, you know, don't know all that much about cooperation in every case, and therefore the question doesn't mean very much to them. But that tells us more about the people we're asking than about what we think is important in a cooperative.
Absolutely, Vivian. I think this is the first of many conversations that we need to have with Selected, but this was our survey with our members, as you quite rightly pointed out, so it's a really interesting observation. Thank you for that. Ali, who was next?
So I've got Kathy next.
Hi, Kathy. Thank you.
Hi. Thank you. Really, I think it was just building on what Helen and Vivian pointed out. I think, you know, as a co-operator, if you just look at the chart and it's sort of hits you in sort of straight in the eye that, gosh, knowledge about the local community and cooperation, those are both the sort of the bottom categories in terms of what's most important. But I think, as Vivian said, this isn't maybe the best way of determining how important those aspects of our service are, and maybe what we sort of maybe what's more important perhaps is whether whether our service comes across in a cooperative way, and in a way that demonstrates a sort of a knowledge of, or an empathy with what's going on in the local community. I think it's perhaps just seeing them stark on a table like that is probably leading us to conclusions that perhaps aren't necessarily the underlying, what's really underlying those scores.
I think on that point, Kathy, the first thing it's always really important to remember with these sort of prioritisation surveys is that doesn't mean that there's a lot in it. You know, just because if you're forced to prioritise, you have to pick things out. The other thing that you'll see when we come into a bit more detail later on some of the qualitative feedback is that actually you can sense that friendly and welcoming is absolutely about knowing the community, because you can be more friendly and welcoming when you know the people that are coming in and out of your, your trading area. So we're definitely not in a position where we would discount any of these things. They're all important to us, absolutely important to us. It does help us think about how we prioritize, especially when we're thinking about someone that maybe only works 8 hours a week. What learning do we need to make sure that they absolutely get, and in what order, and how do we help them to integrate in the best way that means that we give our members the best service as soon as we can. So I don't, this isn't to alarm anyone that we wouldn't be focusing on any of these things, because we'll be focusing on all of them.
Yes. Yeah, thanks.
Henry?
Hi there. Yes, I mean, basically, as friendly comes across out of the majority, followed well, in fact, total majority, isn't it? It's in the first two attributes. Undoubtedly, the first contact being made is what counts. The various things later, they're all important, of course, but it's the initial contact is so obvious to me. I've had 35 years in retail before I retired with my own shops, and if you've got one member of staff who isn't as friendly as he or she should be, you do lose customers without a doubt. So you really got to choose them well.
Yeah, absolutely. Was anyone surprised around the score for personalised service on childcare? I'll take that as a no.
Yes. No, I was a little bit surprised by that. And I mean, I also am a bit surprised that in food stores, you'd expect people to be knowledgeable about the product, because you've got 12,000 lines in a store. They're not going to be knowledgeable about, most of it probably, other than as a consumer. So I'm not really sure what that means. It's hard to get behind the intention of people filling in the questionnaire.
Hopefully the next bit will give you a little bit more of an insight into what people were thinking. So we'll come to that in a moment. Bernadette?
Hi. Hi. I'm really surprised that provide personal service to childcare is so high. I'm also as surprised for food convenience and food supermarkets. But what really puzzles me is that 4 is provide personal service in funeral. And I think that is really bad. That should be up there, I think, with the 1s and the 2s, because that would worry me, that if I went into a funeral home, I wouldn't get to provide it the personal service. And that worries me in that respect. And the knowledge in the local community, in the convenience store, 6. I really think that's really, really far beyond what I've seen in our convenience stores.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, Bernadette.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bev?
Yeah, I'm really surprised to see the personalised service so low in childcare and funeral. I just wonder what the question that the members were asked around that, and whether they had a list of things that the colleagues asked them to provide personalised service. I also think around the knowledgeability of cooperation, where we've got quite low scores there. It's whether colleagues have time to talk to members around that.
So if you remember, this is the members picking what they deemed to be, I guess, their priority. And my sense is, from the comments that we'll come on to later, the majority of the respondents shop with food, not childcare. So I think it might be that people have answered on behalf of a service that they aren't accustomed to using. So I think it's a really good starter for 10 for us, but it's definitely not the full answer.
Yeah.
Melody?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I was surprised that the scores for food and food supermarkets were exactly the same as each other, because we think of them as different formats, and we assume that customers want different experiences from one to the other. So I guess that's quite interesting, because it probably means that, you know, when people are coming into a food convenience store, they expect the same level as in a food market or in a big supermarket environment. So that was just the one thing that the other thing that really jumped out to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my initial observation as well, Melody. I was expecting to see a slight difference amongst those two. So again, really interesting to see those rankings. Anybody else got any opinion or observation they want to share? Okay, well, listen, that's really great. Thank you for all your input. It's always great to hear your views. I'm going to hand back to Claire now to take you through the next part of the results.
So we also asked an open question on our survey, which provided our panel members with the opportunity to use free text to answer the question. So the question was, how would colleagues make you feel more like a member than a customer? And the responses we received really fell into 3 core themes. So I'm going to ask Ali just to talk us through theme number 1.
Thank you, Claire. So our members kindly shared with us lots of comments about membership cards. An example from one of our members was a reminder to use my members card when completing a transaction would be helpful. But there was also lots of comments about discounts, other additional offers for members. And I actually have one comment here about exclusivity for members, which comments, have member-only offers in food stores. To be a member of something means that members should have exclusivity. Send emails for promotions and offers.
So, what are your thoughts on those comments? Don't be shy. Was anyone surprised that that came out?
Alex, yeah.
Yeah, I'm quite concerned with the member-only offer. For many reasons, some of the most vulnerable in our community might not be members, and I don't think it's fair to exclude people from offers such which some of our other main retailers are doing at the moment. I don't think it's fair on the most vulnerable people.
Thank you, Alex. That's really valuable insight. Henry?
Yeah, I'm surprised. I do, because I don't actually live in the area. Do you not remind people of the various other options of other trading groups, or email them on a regular basis?
We do send emails about the other services that we provide, but they're not necessarily particularly joined up at the moment. So we're working on how we can make, and this is really part of that piece of work as well, making sure that we show up as one society. Yes, so I think it's something that we can do better at.
Yes, I mean, I don't get very many emails to tell me this at all. I buy my energy from the co-op, but I live outside the geographic area, and only occasionally come up towards Chipping Camden way. So I'm surprised. Until I really got involved, I didn't know there was a phone system, a co-op phone to use. Unfortunately, I'm tied into another contract at the moment, but when it expires, I shall certainly look at it.
Yeah. Thank you, Henry.
We've got a hand up from Jeanette. Oh, I'm going to unmute you, Jeanette.
Yes, I've unmuted. Sorry about that. I'm a member, and I do live in Shropshire, so I do live in the geographical area. And the only email I've ever received from yourselves is about the dividend payouts. I don't remember any emails about offers or anything coming through at all. And as regards the dividend payout, you said you're going to send it in an e-voucher. Well, that's no good to me. I haven't got a smartphone. So I rang, actually. I found the phone number off one of the staff gave me a card, and I found the phone number off that. And I spoke to a very nice lady who explained they could send it out in a voucher. But that was a month ago, and I still haven't received it. So I just wanted that as an explanation of why I've joined this forum this evening.
Thank you for that, Jeanette. I can't personally answer that question, but we can absolutely take that away, and we've got people dialed in who work at the society that I'm sure will be straight on that to see what's happened there. So as a member, would you expect exclusive member offers, Jeanette, or is the dividend, what does that meet your expectations?
Yes, I mean, we've always had a dividend. My mother had one. But I think exclusive member offers are good. Tesco's do them, as you probably know. And when the gentleman talks about vulnerable, well, I'm classed as vulnerable. I'm elderly, and I've got a chronic illness. But all my friends are elderly, and we've all got a Tesco card. We understand what that does. That gives you access to exclusive offers there. So I think it's a good idea.
Okay, that's really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Or shall we move? Oh, yeah, we've got someone, Vivian.
Yeah, I was only going to comment that I agree with pretty much with the comment that's on the screen, and it's not as consistent as it should be, perhaps asking for membership cards. And when they do ask, quite often colleagues say, do you have a co-op card, which doesn't actually say membership. It sounds like a Tesco card, and actually there is a difference between what Tesco's reward scheme and our membership. Our membership is ownership, and I think we need to work hard to get that across, because otherwise people just see it as another retailer reward scheme, and we've kind of lost the plot if that's all people think we're offering them. So yeah, I that's really the point I wanted to get across.
That's great. Thank you, Vivian. Ali, have we got anything we need to respond to in the chat?
No, nothing in the chat that's popped up.
Okay, lovely. Shall we move on to the next theme then, please, Ali? Rachel, I'm going to hand over to you now. Don't forget to shout because you're sharing my microphone.
Okay, so we're moving on to, I haven't got it on the screen, sorry, could you read it?
We're moving on to friendly and welcoming.
Thanks, Claire. So the question around friendly and welcoming was again offered with open text, and the main output was that many felt that they simply want colleagues to be friendly and welcoming, and you saw that from the rankings on the previous screen. A lot talked about creating that positive atmosphere when using the services, and the great news there is that lots of our colleagues are already doing that, and that was what came through on the survey comments in the free text. But there's a couple I would just like to share with you, if you'll indulge me. So one respondent said phone co-op does a splendid job of that. Actually, I always get the feeling that they've got plenty of time for me, even if they've many other members to serve. And then another responded, personal service, welcoming, approachable, happy in their work. And then I've got one last comment to share, which I'd be interested to hear your opinions on. And this respondent said, always ask the customer what sort of day they are having and make them feel special. And that's the focus, is on them whilst you're serving them. Remember, you might be the only person that talks to them that day. Okay. Any thoughts or comments on anything that you've heard from our responses?
So we've got a hands up from Jeff.
Hi, Jeff.
Jeff, apologies, you're muted. Bear with me, I'm just going to unmute you.
You hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Jeff. Yes, thank you.
I do apologise. I was having my hand up on the previous questions, and I didn't get noticed. So I tried to get back to the.
Sorry.
That's okay. I wanted to get back to the other thing first, if you don't mind. If that's okay.
Of course.
It was about
Absolutely.
the card at the cash out checkout. Is that okay?
Yeah, go for it. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I find that I don't always get asked for my card, and if I do present my card on a Tuesday when you get a discount for OOPs, I'm not always asked about the discount. If I don't mention it myself, then I don't get the discount.
Okay.
I don't know if that falls into the category of what you're talking about at the moment.
Well, certainly what we're hearing, I think, from our members and from, reflected by you there, is that we should be consistently asking every time. And that's something that that we talk to our colleagues about often, and we need to make sure that we sort of hardwire that into the way that we train and support our colleagues to make sure that they can do that and they feel able to do that.
I find also that I think maybe 99% of the time, when I do mention it, they have to go off and get someone to be able to do the discount for them. They're not capable themselves of doing that.
Okay.
And on my phone, I had the app where you can have rewards.
Yes.
And again, the cashier, the checkout, had no clue at all about that. Had again to go off and get someone to sort that out for them. And I think that just holds up queues and things,
It does. It does, yeah. Thank you for
especially
sharing
that. Especially at my co-op, because there is a problem at the checkouts anyway. But I always, if I have arthritis and other health problems, and when I can get to the store, I use a trolley for my support,
Yeah.
When they get to a checkout, there's never anyone at the checkout, never.
Okay.
And I have to go looking, and where there's a basket only counter, they're staring at me, but nothing's happening. I'm trying to wave my hands to them and everything, trying to get some attention so I can be served at the checkout. So there's obviously checkout problems, Well, at my store there is anyway. So.
What store is your store, Jeff?
This is Cavendish Square, Swindon.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that with us, and I'll definitely make sure that gets fed back to the team.
I find the staff are friendly enough,
Good. Good. Thank you.
Thanks, sorry, Ali, who was next?
So we've got Jeanette next.
Hi, Jeanette.
Yes. Hello. Just on the friendliness bit, I think that's a very good idea for the staff to speak to the people and ask if they're having a good day. I must admit, the store, my local store, is excellent. They always are very friendly. They do ask if you've had a nice day, and they're all very pleasant and helpful. I've never, ever had a problem there at all. So I just wanted to, you know, put the other side of the coin there, that my local store is excellent.
Which is your local store, Jeanette?
Church Stretton.
Okay, brilliant.
It is, that's great to hear. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you.
Ali, who's next?
And then we've got Kathy.
Hi, Kathy.
Hi, thanks. It was just Jeff's point really about the discount on a Tuesday, and it just prompted me to ask: do GDPR reasons stop us from, or is it technological reasons stop us from linking date of births to people's cards so that the discounts could perhaps be automatically applied on a Tuesday?
I don't know the answer to that, Kathy, but we can definitely take that away. Absolutely.
Yes, I was just thinking, you know, it is really important that colleagues are welcoming to people, but perhaps if, you know, if they're also having to think about asking people, remembering other things on a Tuesday, that might detract from some of the other stuff that they might want to share with members and customers. So I'd just be interested to know what stops us from doing that.
It would definitely help with the embarrassment of asking someone if they want the Diamond Day discount if they're not of the right demographic for that, wouldn't it? Yes. Thank you. Yes, we'll feed that back. I think Helen had her hand up, but she's put it back down again. So Helen, are you?
Helen's still got her hand up.
Yeah,
okay,
only to answer Kathy's comment really, to say there's no GDPR reason why we can't do it, and I think we have the technology to do it. We just need to there's some process things that we would need to do to make that happen, but with some of the things that you've seen us doing in food in the last few months, it's something that's possible. Lots of members don't give us their date of birth, so you know, are missing out, but it is, I think, technically possible. It just on that roadmap. The same with colleague discount, we could actually do that automatically eventually. So I think you're right, it just needs to be automatic.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Jeff's got his hand up.
Oh, Jeff, you just need to unmute. Or Ali can. Thank you.
Hear me?
Okay.
Yes, we can, Jeff. Thank you.
I'll come back to what Kathy was saying about linking your membership card to your age. You know, I've always thought that, because there is a technology, is there? You know.
Yes, that's great. Thank you.
And then we've got Bernadette.
Yeah, in regards to the colleagues asking on the double discount day, sometimes we have had very harsh feedback for the colleagues actually asking people who aren't in that demographic part, and the colleagues themselves find it very embarrassing. So the date of birth on their card as it goes through the checkout is an excellent idea. It would stop other people getting embarrassed as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find exactly the same, Bernadette, when they ask me for ID when I buy alcohol. I'm mortified. I wish. That hasn't happened for a while.
I know, sorry, Claire, I know someone else that was asked and was very affronted that they even thought he was in that age group. Don't I?
Oh, okay.
That wink.
No names. No names, no petrol. He knows who it is.
Thanks, Bernadette. I think we're back to Jeff.
You hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I think it's along the lines of what the lady just said. When I was in the store once, I presented my card and asked for the 10% discount. First of all, the cashier was quite flummoxed and didn't know what to do about that, and she had to get hold of somebody. But I remember one time when one of them actually shouted down in the aisle to another colleague, you know, to try and sort it out. And it was like very embarrassing for me to be stood there being sort of shouting out in front of everyone, you know, with an OAP here, can you sort this out? You know, that was a bit embarrassing.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah,
like anybody my personal age and everything. You know, so.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it sounds like getting our colleagues really clued up on that is going to be really, really important. So thank you for that.
Well,
is there anyone else? Oh, sorry.
I was going to say there's a couple of comments that I missed from earlier. I was just going to mention them. Apologies, it didn't alert me that there was comments, so apologies. There was one from Alex Grant about emails earlier, that he gets food emails quite often, but they go to his junk folder, so he has to go in there to recover them. Helen replied to Jeanette to say she will find out about the vouchers and get someone to come back to you, Jeanette. And then there was a comment from Bernadette to say, I get a lot of complaints in Franch Road saying that they are getting no feedback from membership.
Okay. So we'll pick that up. Thank you. So it feels like we're ready to move on to the third and final theme from the question that we asked our members, which was that there actually shouldn't be a difference in service, with respondents saying things like, I would rather all customers be treated professionally, politely and efficiently. I don't think people should be treated differently. Treating members differently to customers suggests that non-member customers will be offered an inferior service. And I guess I absolutely can understand that perspective, especially in food, but I just wondered if you think there would be a different level of service expectation in something like, say, travel, for example, if you're a member versus a non-member. Bernadette?
I think I'll be brave this time. I'm not aware that the colleagues asked for the membership card straight away. I know in the checkout in food, nobody knows if you're a member or not until you actually go to the checkout. And the same with when I've been involved in funeral. Most of the funeral colleagues would know me in my area anyway, but I'm sure they don't do that until they start filling in the forms and the person has committed to do that, have that service. Childcare, I'm not so sure of, but I don't think it would make a difference in childcare, because normally on some of our childcare sites, we don't have any other mid-counties outlets close by. So to me, some of that is not quite right. There shouldn't be a difference because we don't know if you're a member or not. It's different if you had to walk in and show your membership card to get in, then we would know who was and who wasn't. But there's nowhere until the point of actually going to the service to pay that we know any difference. So I can't see what difference that would make.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good point. And Alex, I think, put in the chat that actually every customer is a potential member, and that's certainly how we would think about it. And actually, what we need to do probably is talk to customers more about the additional benefits of being a member, so that they are more inclined to come and join us, and join the society. So service, in the sense of the service you experience when you walk into one of our branches or talk to someone on the phone from mid-counties, I think we can all agree, and it certainly came out of the survey, that we wouldn't expect a difference in that level of service, but perhaps if we do that well enough, then people might get to be rewarded with some of the benefits that only our members would get. So is there anything else from a service perspective that you'd have expected to come out as a theme that we perhaps haven't spoken about today?
Henry?
Yeah, it's a slightly more technical question. Do you use mystery shoppers at all?
I believe we do, yes. in not, I don't know if we do it across every trading group, but yes, I believe we do use
You
mystery
do.
shoppers.
And do you know what the feedback is from them, or or do you just put them out to do I don't know, just assess a situation, or
so we've got some customer satisfaction metrics across most of our trading groups, so we do look at that on a regular basis. I think the interesting thing that tells you is how you're doing now, but it doesn't necessarily tell you what people want it to look like in the future. So you'll know whether there's room for improvement in what you do now. The interesting bit for us, I guess, is how could it be different in the future, and how should it be different in the future? And that's the bit that we're kind of trying to grapple with now.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm just thinking what base you're working from. If you've used a mystery shopper, you will know, even a particular branch, what has to be improved and what people are expecting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you. Bernadette's made a comment. Is that you, Bernadette? I can see your face, but I'd better check in case there is a Bernadette lookalike in the chat.
Yeah, from Bernadette.
Around the queues in our food shops.
Yes.
And I think that's interesting, actually, because if you think back to those scores at the beginning, efficiency came out quite high. I don't know if you've got them in front of you, Rach, but
so it's spanned between 2 to 4, but mainly 3.
And in food, it was 3. So clearly important in the list of priorities, but not as important as a friendly welcome and being knowledgeable about the products and services. Anything else that you would like to see as members in service moving forward, perhaps that we haven't got today or that you don't observe today? Good.
Okay.
Thank you. So I want to thank you so much for your contribution today. Your insight has been really helpful, and you've certainly given us some more pointers and things to look at as we really embark on this journey to rethink how we have a standard level of service across the society. As I said at the beginning, this is really the very start, and we jumped at the opportunity to be able to talk to you today. But we have lots of colleagues and members to speak to before we can ensure that we're getting everything right. So thank you for helping us to really start our thinking around the review of service at your co-op. We've now got a short video from our Society President, Helen Wiseman.
Hello, I'm Helen Wiseman, Society President, and I'd like to thank you for joining us for this session today. I hope that you found it both interesting and informative. This is part of our ongoing commitment to get members more involved and listening to their views on the society that they own. I'm delighted to tell you that we've been nominated as Leading Co-op of the Year, and you can find out more about how to vote in this award at the end of the video. And finally, I look forward to our AGM on the 13th of May. I hope that you can join us, take part and vote on issues that matter, and find out how we are driving the success of your society, supporting our communities and working towards a better, fairer world. Thank you.
So, as evidenced by some of the comments we received from our survey about the great service and work our colleagues do, we've been nominated for Leading Co-op of the Year, and we would really like to encourage you to vote for us using the details that you can see on the slide there in front of you. And this is the first of many of your co-op conversations. So if you haven't already signed up for the other sessions and you would like to, you can use the QR code or visit the website on the slide there to sign up for more your co-op conversations. I really want to thank you again for your time this evening. Really grateful, and it's fantastic to be able to speak directly to our members in a forum like this. So thank you so much for your time and have a wonderful evening.